Cool. It looks like we are good to go. I want to make sure everything is good. Uh, how am I working out? Yeah, sweet. Let's go ahead and get into it. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of the NarikChase channel. I'm your boy NarikChase, and this is episode 106 of the Streamline Podcast. Now, for those who haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, hit that like, share, subscribe, and the notification button to get the best of what we got going on this channel. Now, we have some very interesting subjects to go ahead and just get on down with. Four in specific. First, we are going to talk about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom trailer. Thoughts and opinions and expectations for the game. Also, we're going to be talking about the fourth Riddick film, which is supposed to be called Riddick 4 Furya, that has been officially announced, despite the development hell that's been going through over the last, seemingly 10, 12 years. And also, we're going to be talking about Amazon developing a Tomb Raider game, which is kind of interesting because the last episode we talked about the television series that they were developing. And number four, speaking of television, we are going to be talking about a live-action Black Panther television series that supposedly is rumored to be in development, or at least teased by Disney Plus. So, for without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So, I have a lot of really interesting thoughts that I want to just bring to the table as far as just the Legend of Zelda series. I've made several videos of potential ideas for video games. I've got a bunch of notes for potential ideas for video games based on IP that's already come out, as well as future ideas that could potentially spring from those ideas. Specifically, the fact that the that basically the series is about time and reincarnation and seeing what they've been doing with the Breath of the Wild, how it all comes together, just all because in actuality, the Legend of Zelda series is actually three timelines and how they connect and everything is basis of all these games. It's very interesting and really in-depth stuff. It's very genius how it's all become too, which makes me wonder, was it all by design or did it just become a thing? So, anyways, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is the official sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And have to say, I was one of those dummies that did not have a Switch, didn't really, I'd kind of fallen off the Nintendo train quite a while ago. I was more the Xbox, then I started getting more into the PlayStation, and now I'm into Nintendo again. Uh, and it was years before I even picked up Breath of the Wild. And I have to admit that this has got to be not only one of the best games of all time, well, starting with one of the best Legend of Zelda game, but also one of the best games of all time, easily top 50 in my opinion. It's just great. It's got the best of both worlds. It's a natural evolution of the Legend of Zelda series. Grand open world, memorable characters, great combat, tons of exploration, side quests, just everything. Which, now that I think about it, the episode that I made of the Legend of Zelda game that I would like to see, I'm going to make a comparison to Breath of the Wild and see did it meet those expectations. But basically saying, if you have not played Breath of the Wild, what are you waiting for? It's definitely worth it. Definitely a great game. And, they did announce that they were going to be making a sequel for it. Now, there's a lot of good that can come out of that, and there's a lot of things that kind of got me worried. Because of how successful Breath of the Wild was, I was very interested to seeing them stick with the formula of creating like an open world game with these interesting mechanics, this grand level of detail, which sometimes it feels like the game is a little too big. There are those moments where you go to those long stretches without really seeing any activity, which that's always the curse of making open world games on such a big scale, is that the world just does not feel lively. But I think they do a decent enough job with the animal life, the enemies, the people. That it does. They do make it big. They make it big, but I think they do make it enough to where it's lively. And there's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of places to go explore too. So, but some of the negatives that I felt like since this was a big success, it was like, okay, they're going to try to stick with the formula. And since they said it was going to be a direct sequel, I was like, well, most of the Legend of Zelda games aren't sequels like that. Like, not, at least not direct sequels. Yes, there might be the next incarnation of the characters forming that type of sequel, but not like a direct sequel to the game. So maybe it's like, okay, it was so successful that they're afraid that they can't top it, so they're just going to stick with this one. But we'll reserve judgment. But anyways, having seen the trailer, there really wasn't much to it. There is a big expansion, which one of another thing that got me kind of worried was the fact that, okay, we're going to be set in the same. It looks like it's going to be the same location. So are we going to be? How are we going? Explored this just great world that this game has given. Breath of the Wild has given us. It's just so expansive, so much exploration, so many side quests and stuff. How are you going to address this again without making it feel so repetitive? And of course, when we see the trailer, which honestly I was not really impressed with in the trailers. Not that I needed to see, spoilers or anything like that. I needed to see some of the best that the game offered. I just felt like it was okay, showing some of the new mechanics that they got in it, such as the flying machine that you see Link flying with. You got the little automobile like machine that you see him driving, which I think is pretty interesting. Going back to this game being in the aftermath of industrial age where machines, mechanical robots and stuff were a thing in Hyrule, but now they're kind of being introduced after the calamity. So I think that's interesting evolutionary step that they should take. That some of these things will get brought back. I think that's pretty interesting. I'm a little worried to see how that's gonna. Is that gonna take too much from, like, say, riding a horse, being actually able to like fly and stuff like that? It's interesting, but that was interesting mechanics they did show in it. Also, going back to what I was saying about the map and everything. Apparently, we have sky islands. Now, I'm not sure where these sky islands come from. It looks like just pieces from a trailer, at least pieces of the land just floated up into the sky. And again, now I played Breath of the Wild. I have not beaten it yet, and I don't know if that potentially was something that was in the original at the end of the game. They got introduced at the end of the game. So far in Breath of the Wild, these Sky Islands aren't a part of it. And from the trailer, it kind of makes it seem like basically that pieces of the land just flew up into to the sky. Now I could be wrong on that, and I probably am, but that's kind of the way it looked like. And like I said, I haven't beaten the game, so maybe me beating the game introduces that, or maybe just a new phenomena that's just going to jump off in this game. In it. So I'm interested to see about the Sky Islands, how detailed they are, how much time you're going to spend up there compared to on the ground. Because in the trailer, you spend a lot of time on it. It seems like you spend a lot of time on the ground. So what is the purpose of the Sky Islands? Are these going to be new locations? Are these going to be old locations thrown up into the sky? So a lot of there's a lot of open interpretation in the trailer. It's not. It doesn't seem. It didn't seem like, okay, that this sky islands just descended from heaven and anything. And again, I don't know, but I like the idea of it. I want to say there was another game, a Legend of Zelda game, that had like sky islands in it, but I'm not sure which one it was. Um, Maybe it was Twilight Princess, or maybe it was Skyward Sword. It was. I felt like it was another Legend of Zelda game that had like a Sky Island type theme to it. Uh, but anyways, and then you don't really see much. Now in the Breath of the Wild, they had a thing with the little blood moon would jump off, and then when the blood moon came, which periodically it did, monsters got stronger, or more monsters popped up and stuff. And it seems like they're going to continue with that. Now, I actually thought that was like a result of the Ganondorf's curse or something like that. Again, haven't beaten the game, so I'm not 100%. But I thought a result of Ganondorf's influence. Now, this trailer got me thinking, okay, maybe it's just something that naturally that does happen. And the villain in this, which I don't know, they make it seem like they're going to explore that a little bit more. because that is one of the focal points of the trailer. Does this new supposed evil force or lingering force of Ganon have something to do with this blood moon? Is it the actual force behind it? Which, okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting concept. That means that the Ganondorf's influence was the only thing being the unnatural force in the land, but you were technically battling two different evil forces. So that's interesting. So I'm interested to see if they're going to explore that. They do show this weird mummy-looking guy, and I'm not sure if he's going to be the villain. Makes it seem like Zelda Link ends up awakening this villain or whatever, or they go to confront this villain and he awakens. I'm not sure. But my thing is, I do want to know who the villain is. Now, Ganondorf Ganondorf in Legend of Zelda is like Sephiroth to Final Fantasy. He owns it. It's like Shao Kahn to Mortal Kombat. It's like Bison to freaking Street Fighter. And I'm always gonna love Ganondorf, and I love the interpretations of the characters. I am hoping that this next game has nothing to do with Ganondorf. I do not want to see his character. I think his interpretation in Breath of the Wild is freaking awesome and possibly one of the top three best incarnations of the character, but I don't want them to linger on Ganondorf so much. I think that his role in Breath of the Wild could have some influence in the story of the new Tears of the Kingdom, but I don't want him to be the main villain. Like when you were playing, when you played, against Majora in Majora's Mask, Zant was actually a pretty interesting villain in Twilight Princess. I like Sia's character in Hyrule Warriors. So Legends of Zelda does have some pretty interesting, memorable villains, and I want to see them dive more. I want to see them be able to create an original one for this game. Maybe Ganondorf and Ganondorf's presence eclipsed another villain that was naturally there, and they had us, and maybe Ganondorf sealed him away. But I just want to see a really cool villain too. I just want to see, especially given the immensity, enormity of Ganondorf's presence and appearance in Breath of the Wild. So I'm interested definitely on who the villain is going to be. But I'm interested also in more features and stuff. I want to see more customization when it comes. I've always had a thing with Legend of Zelda. I want to see customization, not only to his costumes, but maybe even his weapons. You get the fire arrow, which is always that makes it seem like it's an equip. But I wanted to be, I wanted you to be able to modify your weapons. I think that'd be pretty cool. I think that'll make the combat a bit more diverse too. I don't want to sit here and have to go through play half the game to finally get some fire arrows or lightning arrows. No, let me modify it. You know what I'm saying? Just go to a shop and they modify my bow with fire arrows, or they modify it with lightning arrows or something like that. I think that'd be really, really interesting idea. But all in all, when watching the trailer, I thought it was pretty cool. I wish there was a bit more to it. They did show a lot of the Sky Islands, like flying, like gliding. It's just a beautiful trailer. You get to see some moments between Zelda, Link, potentially the new villain that's going to be in the story, and not, like I said, it was pretty cool. And maybe it doesn't have the same exact amount of hype that Breath of the Wild did, because before Breath of the Wild, Zelda games weren't as immense and didn't have this enormity to them in that same fashion. So there was definitely a jump. It was basically seeing, a link to the past, playing Link to the Past, and then finally seeing the trailer for Ocarina of Time. So we had a lot of good Zelda games, then all of a sudden Breath of the Wild comes along and changes the game. Now the question is, will they be able to top it? We'll see. Right now they've already given us the visuals and the grandiose scale to it. Now time to refine a lot of the features, add new enemies, add new characters. We got this whole Sky Island map that's going to be added to it. So I'm interested to see where they're going to go with this. So, woo, next one. coming in on our second topic, we're going to be talking about the Riddick 4 movie. Now, for those who don't know, I've really enjoyed the Chronicles of Riddick. Richard B. Riddick is hands down one of my top like 20 most badass characters in the film. I think the idea of the character is solid. I like the presence. I like Vin Diesel's portrayal of the character. I love the story of the character. The actual universe itself is really, really interesting. It's very diverse. Which is one thing I had to kind of get a handle on when I first was introduced to it, because the first film that we see of his character is more of a sci-fi horror film, and then it goes into this weird sci-fi-ish fantasy adventure element, and then it kind of goes back to this sci-fi horror adventure. It's just very, very diverse. And then of course you got the animated movie that came out with it. You had the games that actually supported it. There was a couple of them media that was actually introduced to help help the continuity of and I'm not gonna say, I don't care what nobody say, Escape from Butcher Bay was badass. That was a good game. That game was freaking awesome. But this whole time I've wanted them to, and at first I liked Pitch Black. Chronicles of Riddick was something I was like, I didn't like it the first time because of the tone, how rapid, how the tonal change was. You go from this sci-fi horror to this just like action fantasy sci-fi. But then I liked it. I really enjoy it. I like it more than I like Pitch Black. And then of course the Riddick film came out, which I felt was a bit more disappointing because it felt like it was a mash of the first two films rather than something new and unique. And there were some writing issues, but ultimately I think it's a decent film. And then, I was like, okay, they're promising us more about Furya. We're going to see more with the necromongers and stuff like that. Riddick's going to come back and he's going to come strong. And I really wanted to see that, and that did not happen for the longest time. And yes, there was rumors of the fourth film being developed, and that has been talked about since, I don't know, Fast and the Furious 5, maybe before that, Fast and the Furious 4. So, and this is my thing with the whole Riddick movie and Vin Diesel and the Fast and the Furious. Man, I would have liked him to make Fast and the Furious, Riddick. Fast and the Furious, Riddick. Fast and the Furious, Riddick. I would have loved that. But it was like Fast and the Furious, Riddick. Fast and the Furious, Riddick. Fast and the Furious, Riddick. Fast and the Furious, Fast and the Furious, Fast and the Furious. And I'm like, I get that you're trying to milk it and everything and you're making money, but you do have a solid following that follows this character in this universe, which is really good. Now, I'm not going to say it's got the best writing. Davey Toohey, who I believe wrote and directed the first three films, after film two, I think he needs to kind of take a step back. He's got a really good idea of the character and the interesting situations that the character can be put in, and does have a pretty interesting setup around the character. But I think at this point, I think he needs some fresh eyes, because if we're gonna come with this fourth film, I need him to come with a really good story. I need him to jump, especially since it's been like what it feels like. I don't know. I feel like 10 years, or maybe more. But Riddick came out in 2013, so it's been like 10 years since the last film, and he's definitely got to come with it. You know what I mean? But I'm willing to give him a chance. I cannot wait. I'm not going to lie. I am super excited for this. I really, really do enjoy the Riddick franchise. I think it's really good. I think they should come out with more games. I'm surprised they ain't got no more comics. I'm sitting here looking for comics for them and I can't find them. Maybe I'm not looking in the right spot, but like I said, I like the character. I do want to see more from this character. I don't care if they make it into games. I don't care if they stretch it into the television series, which I would love to see a TV series as a prequel leading up to this. And I felt like they were talking about that they had a prequel. I don't know if it was a game or a short movie or something, but it was like I want to say they got like a short film or something that's supposed to be like or a book or a comic or something that's supposed to be like a prequel, kind of setting up what happens before Pitch Black. I need to go find it. But I was very interested when I finally heard that. But I'm happy if this is true. They're going into this full force. You know, Fast 10. They just got to finish developing that, and I hadn't seen Fast and Furious since Fast 8, The Fate of the Furious. But I'm interested. I'm glad that finally they're going to go with this. They're officially working on the fourth film. I do want to see where they're going to take this character. I want to see more of the universe. There was a potentially, from what I heard, and one character from the original film is supposed to be returning. Now I'm not sure if that's the first film because pretty much everybody in the first film died. I'm not sure if it's the yeah, everybody from the first film is dead at this point. I'm not sure if it's going to be somebody from the second film or the third film. Now, I do like Katie Sackhoff's character that was introduced in the third film, and if she comes back, I'm all for that. I thought she was pretty awesome. If let's say if Vaco and Dame Vaco kind of come back, I would like to see that. I would like to see a good face off between them, Vaco and Riddick. You know what I'm saying? After all, especially given that he left them on the planet on the planet in Riddick 3 for dead. So it'd be nice as somewhat of a revenge story, especially the way it's set up. So in fact, I read an article or something a while ago where it was supposed to be the next film was supposed to be Furya, and then I want to say the last movie was supposed to be uh, Riddick going to what was that dark dimension that the Necromongers went to, the Necroverse, like him supposedly going there, maybe to settle those score. I'm not sure, but I know that these films supposed to be delving more, supposedly rumored to be delving more into Riddick's past, more about the Furians and everything. I would like to see. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm one of those people like there's no freaking way a planet full of spacefaring, uh, super soldier warriors such as Riddick himself is like their whole planet died and he's like the last one. I've never bought that. I don't like that concept with Goku and them and Dragon Ball Z. I think that's dumb. Even though the Dragon Ball the Broly movie did a better explanation as to why they did a better explanation as to why that was the case rather than the original movie, original series. I don't like the fact that in Superman, the Kryptonians is all on one planet. I don't buy that. The Martian Manhunter, Lobo, like I don't buy all that. I'm like, you're space fire. There's bound to be a couple of dozen here and a couple of dozen here and stuff like that. But anyways, I'm interested ultimately in seeing this. If Katie Sackhoff comes back, cool. Vaco comes back, cool. I'm happy that they're giving my boy some shine because if you're going to send off Riddick, do not send him off with the Riddick film. Send him off with an awesome. Give me a good send off for the character. If you're going to end the franchise, give me a good send off for the character. He's freaking awesome. Vin Diesel, get on it, my boy. You had this, you get your money and everything fine, but I need my Riddick 4. It's definitely one of those films that I was like highly anticipating. Got a little bit into that one, but we're gonna go ahead and segue into the next subject. I'm going to try to get some definite transition things. So the transition's a little better, and not me doing the intro several times. But anyways, we're going on to topic 3, and topic 3 is Amazon developing a new Tomb Raider game. Now I've seen some pushback on this, and I do think that it is warranted. Now, Amazon was the brilliant geniuses who came up with the Rings of Power series. That didn't turn out too well. No, it didn't. So, anyways, Amazon has kind of done some pretty good things with Amazon Prime. Hell, I like The Boys. I like watching Invincible. Invincible's awesome. They need to hurry up and come out with that second season. I like The Tick, and it'll suck if I'm sitting here getting these streaming services mixed up. I don't know about y'all, but I switch my streaming services every 3 months. So I'm watching 4 streaming services a year, but I switch one. I watch one for 3 months, switch to another one 3 months. That way I can get the best of everything. Yes, sometimes something comes out later. I just have to deal with waiting. I got discipline like that. I don't need like 5, 6 streaming services. But anyways, so I'm a huge Tomb Raider fan. I've been trying to go back and play the original ones. Yes, visually they do not hold up in the game. Mechanics are definitely flawed, but they're still fun. They're fun. They're fun. I like the puzzle aspect of it. I like the exploring aspect of it. I do like the combat, even though they're a bit wonky with the controls and graphics. But they're still interesting. They're still fun. I do like the new ones too. I know that she's a bit more different. She's a bit more vulnerable. And I know one thing that I did somewhat. I do understand some of the pushback on was the development of the character. I do feel that by the third Shadow of the Tomb Raider game, she was not to classic. She hadn't gotten to classic Lara Croft yet, which I did. That did bother me. But Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, I really enjoyed those games. I really did. But Shadow of the Tomb Raider definitely could have been better. And I played the little top-down ones. What was the Temple of Osiris, the Warrior of Light, or something like that. Guardian of Light. I like them. I like them. I like the co-op aspect of them too. Man, this Diablo got me into these top-down games. Really good. But, anyways, the game will be developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Amazon Games. Now, Crystal Dynamics have been up and down lately, and especially with the Tomb Raider, there have been some good ones, and there have been some bad ones. And I want to see the next step for the character, even if it does not follow the survival arc games, which are Tomb Raider, Rise of Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I think it would be awesome to see where they're going to take the character. I personally think, okay, that was a good story. And read the comics. The comics are freaking awesome. They definitely help just make that series just freaking awesome. But anyways, I think that'd be good to them just go back into classic Lara Croft, badass. I'm a little worried because Amazon is kind of on the woke train. It's all about feelings and dudes suck and white men are the devil and this non-binary and just all of this crazy stuff that will make anything that's fun, awesome, and enjoyable to just go flat into the dang dirt. But anyway, to do some notes on this, and some of it says Tomb Raider has more than 20 games, selling over 95 million copies since its first entry released in 1996. The most recent being the Tomb Raider 2013, Rise of the Tomb Raider 2015, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider 2018. Of course, again, Guardian of Light, the Temple of Osiris, and I feel like there was another Tomb Raider game that dropped too, but I didn't. I should have looked it up. But I really, and it was, which was also a kind of interesting thing I ended up seeing while going through this. Also, was I didn't know that Amazon had a gaming division. It's called Amazon Games, and some of the games include Dragon's Lair 2018, hadn't heard it. New World 2021, hadn't heard it. Tales from Deep Space 2014, hadn't heard it. And the Grand Tour game. Oh, 2019, I hadn't heard that one either. So obviously they ain't got no bangers. And when I was looking through this, I didn't recognize any of these damn games. I'm like, are these just mobile games? Are they? They ain't got no like main big IP ones. But apparently they've got the Tomb Raider, especially since I already announced they got a live action series. So Amazon has got a lot on their shoulders because not only do they have to make a good series, they also have to make a good game. And there's a lot that can be done with this. There's a lot that could be done with it. I give them 5 things that I think will work out for a great Tomb Raider game. 1, give us classic Lara Croft. I like the younger Lara Croft, but I think it'd be good if they go back to the classic. Give her a tribute. Basically bring that character back. Because people like that character. That character definitely is up there with is one of the female characters that help usher in the age of female badassery in video games, along with Zelda, Peach, Samus Aran. Chun-Li, Katana, just Sonya Blade, just a whole host of women, and she's definitely one of the most prominent. Bayonetta, Aloy. There's just a lot of great game characters, female game characters that are just awesome, and she's definitely one of the ones to help bring that in. So we need a tough, sexy, smart, and resourceful Lara Croft coming back. Two, I want them to try to figure out how to the gunplay, how to do the two guns. I was hoping they did that in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but they didn't do that. So I'm hoping they will figure out a better way of balancing that gunplay with those two guns. Also, we've got to have definitely puzzles, exploration, give us some tombs. Me personally, the open world sections that were in the Tomb Raider survival art games, I wouldn't mind them actually going back to that formula. They were massive. There were plenty of room for exploration. There was plenty of room to go find different temples and ruins and stuff. It was a very fun and great experience. I would like for them to go back to that too. I know I'm thinking that they probably would try to go for more of an open world aspect on the par with maybe something such as Horizon Zero Dawn, Far Cry, something like that, which I'd be okay, but I think it'd be better. It would be better served if they did more of the sectional parts. I went back and started playing Underworld. I think I played Underworld, and even though the mechanics could be better, some of the graphics ain't the best. Still, kind of fun experience. And playing that as well as the survival art games, I'm thinking yes, sectional open world, big open world sectional gameplay would benefit the most. But if they can do a whole open world one, fine. Uh, Two, I think that they should introduce maybe side characters, some interesting side characters that help Laura. Interesting side characters. That's one thing the Survival Arc had was some pretty interesting side characters. Again, read the comics; they're pretty good. And coming in at number five, I would like for them to have more survival elements implemented. Survival elements such as like possibly having food, water, injuries, limited space. They have her have like a backpack or something. She's going to out carry so much stuff at one time. Also, customization with weapons, bullets, being able to make bullets based on resources. Stuff like that. I think that'll definitely bump up and elevate the mechanics of the game if done correctly. Because I don't think we've seen that in the Lara Croft game where it's actually survival. Now, maybe that's on hard mode on the other ones, the survival art games. I don't know. I played the hard mode on the first one and it wasn't on there. But yeah, having more of a survival element of like, you know, healing yourself, bandages, takes time, broken limbs, stuff like that. I think that'll make for an interesting game. And I probably should have done like a top 10 list of things that could have been in the Tomb Raider game, which I probably still should do. But anyways, those are my thoughts on Amazon developing the Tomb Raider game. Look, do not burn his IP to the ground. I'm going to say this now. I haven't watched Rings of Power, but I've seen a lot of stuff on it. I've seen scenes where I felt like stuff didn't make any sense. I've seen inquiries into the decision making when it comes to certain writing choices, and went back and looked at those, and I was like, yeah, that kind of does not make sense. Time wise, I'm a Tolkien fan too. I'm not the most in depth of them. I think it's very interesting. I've watched the movies, I've read some of the books, I've played the games, I've looked into the lore. I don't know everything about it, but I know that the Rings of Power, from what I've seen, does suck pretty bad. So don't burn that bridge, Amazon. Tomb Raider definitely has a crowd. You got the potential to bring this series and elevate it, and therefore elevate yourself. But don't put the woke ideology into it. Don't you put $200 million in what was it? $2 billion or $1 billion in the Rings of Power? Yeah, you need to put some money up in this too. So that's all my thoughts are on that. All right, coming in on our final topic, Black Panther television series. Now, this was teased, but I looked online and didn't really see too much on it. Disney Plus was talking about having a Black Panther television series. Um, and I think I heard them mention something about this last year. Honestly, this is the best move that they could make. This could have been and this is kind of the problem I have with Disney Plus, especially with all of the questionable decisions they've been making over the years, especially with the television shows, such as like She-Hulk, which is just absolute garbage, and some of the other shows they're putting out, especially the movies and stuff. This is definitely one that could have been a good build up to, and probably made Black Panther Wakanda Forever a better movie had this series been implemented before the sequel came out. Now, Black Panther, I think it's actually I hadn't really, honestly, growing up, I wasn't really close to Black Panther, and it isn't really until the MCU brought the character back that I thought it was pretty interesting. Now, I did watch the Ultimate Avengers animated film, and I thought Black Panther was pretty cool too. And I came since I've been reading more comics and stuff, which I need to start actually reviewing them. I'm like, okay, Wakanda is Black Panther is actually pretty cool. I just got to reading what the 1990s, the 1977 run, pretty badass. I actually enjoyed it. Um, So I'm like, okay, this is going to be, and I've been coming basically familiarizing myself more with Black Panther, the lore around it, Wakanda, its influence in Africa, and the different characters that are in the actual stories themselves. I'm like, why the hell wasn't this a series? This series been adapted a long time ago. This is actually really good. It's a really good way of showing more of what, showing an interesting aspect of Marvel, the Marvel universe, because there are a lot of really interesting characters in the Black Panther portion of the MCU, and I would like to see those fleshed out. More of what Shuri goes through, being a princess, whether it's through academics, whether it's through certain prejudices when it comes to like females and stuff in Wakanda. I would like to see that her role, her actual role in the royalty and things like that. That'd be interesting seeing what her life is, especially now after this Wakanda Forever. What is her role going to be? More of what the Doro Milaje, how do they train? How do they recruit? What are their lives about? I think that'll be pretty interesting. Okoye is by far one of the best characters in the MCU. What is her life like? Her husband is in jail for treason and shit. So how is she dealing with that? Which I wish they could have addressed in Wakanda Forever, but they never really did. So basically, I'm just saying that this is the best way to not only introduce reoccurring characters that have already been introduced. It's a good way to flesh out some of the characters that were introduced that didn't get no shine, as well as establishing new characters. Uh, Also, who are the villains that are in Wakanda? There are, I went and looked up, okay, Black Panther has some pretty interesting villains. You got the White Wolf, who is basically the opposite Black Panther, which is kind of what Killmonger became in the first film, although they called Bucky's character the White Wolf, kind of alluding to him being the villain. But, anyways, in the comics, the White Wolf is T'Challa's adopted brother who got banished. And it would have been nice to see something like that. I mean, like I said, it kind of plays off like Killmonger is had kind of taken over that role. But that'd have been interesting to see. Then you got Njadaka, who is interesting. He comes from more of like a futuristic space Wakanda that end up going to this intergalactic conquest. So I had to deal with that. That would have been pretty interesting to see, especially now that we've had the Thanos and the Guardians of the Galaxy and things like that. They've already introduced the time travel and the multiverse and stuff. So why not go ahead and do that? Um, Then we have the Ichibe. I'm not sure how in the hell. Um, Basically, he's a Joker. I would have liked to seen that. I think that would have been pretty interesting. Evil genius who made a deal with Mephisto and seeks to destroy society. I think that would be pretty interesting and an interesting way of bringing Mephisto into the MCU. I know, they've had him be put into the Ghost Rider films, but they say the Ghost Rider films aren't MCU canon, so we can't really have that. But if we're going through the multiverse aspect of it, would Mephisto actually still basically canon? Like, there are certain characters I would say, like, is that a multiverse? Like, just to, go on. Are there certain characters that are like, there's a multiverse, and then there's like, say there's a multiverse, there's like 10 versions of me. Okay, would God be one version that's over all of those multiverses, over the multiverse? So each one we're all seeing the same person, or the devil, or whatever, like that. So I'm like, okay, is Mephisto like that? Is it to where they got all of these multiple multiverses and stuff, but he's still like front? He's like the center. So all of these multiverses that are dealing with him, and not 10 versions of him. That's interesting. I don't know why I thought about that, but it was awesome. But the last character that I would have liked to have seen be like an enemy would be Craven the Hunter. And I've never particularly liked him as a villain towards Spider-Man. I feel like getting more into his character, I would have liked to have seen him be more, okay, I'm going to go chase and hunt the Black Panther. I think that would actually be pretty freaking cool, especially considering his abilities and the origins of his abilities. It kind of would make sense for him to actually go against Black Panther rather than freaking Spider Man. But Sony, I believe, has the rights to that, especially considering they have the Craven the Hunter movie coming out. Why in the hell we have a Craven the Hunter movie coming out? I have no freaking idea, but hey. But anyways, Wakanda series, Black Panther series, actually be pretty cool. I think it's a really good idea. Of all the ideas they've had, nobody cares about Ironheart. Nobody cares about Agatha. What was it? The and the witches. I don't know. And Agatha and the witches of Eastwick. Nobody cares about Echo. I will say that of all of them, Black Panther has the biggest potential to be solid. Now, the movies were undeniably woke, so there's definitely going to be the aspect of wokeism, and I hope Disney straightens up. But Ant-Man just dropped, and it ain't doing so good, so I'm not holding out too high hopes for it. But anyways, like I said, Wakanda would be an interesting idea, definitely. But we've come to the last bits of the show. We had really interesting topics. We talked about The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Sun trailer, ideas and discussion. We talked about Riddick 4 Furya, which is supposed to be the fourth film in the Chronicles of Riddick series. We talked about Amazon developing a Tomb Raider game, as well as a live action. And also we talked about the Black Panther slash Wakanda TV series that's supposed to be in development. But anyways, guys, give me your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about these topics? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of what we got going on this channel. And we'll definitely catch you guys later.